So I'm not even sure really where to start other than just trying to be authentic. I'm 42 years old, married to my second wife with 4 kids. I've got a 22-year-old son with a girlfriend from high school, essentially just after high school. Lives up in Tennessee where his mom's family lives. I've got 2 daughters with my ex-wife. One's 12 and one's 17. And then I have a 5-year-old son with my current wife. My 12 and 17-year-old daughters live about an hour away from me in Florida. July 4th weekend, I had something happen. I guess it was kind of the accumulation of a lot of things and the lack of a lot of things in my relationship with them. And it led to both of them communicating through text that they did not want a relationship anymore, which is, I don't even have enough words to describe it, but I'm sure I will eventually get it described in more videos. So I'm also AuDHD, which is autistic and ADHD overlap, self-diagnosed, I don't know, maybe 3 months ago, and longer of kind of learning myself to see if this could be something that's real or not. My 5-year-old son is also diagnosed, clinically diagnosed autistic, and I'm sure that he's also ADHD as well. I'm also a big advocate for self-diagnosis for AuDHD. And the reason being is because, in my opinion, the characteristics of an AuDHD personality that make them that, the pattern recognition, the hyperfocus, there's a lot of different branches of the tree of AuDHD that could make people very accurate at diagnosing themselves, especially given firsthand experience in an internalized world from something that they've most likely constantly been trying to figure out. What am I? Like, why am I different? Why do I feel this way? So long story short, I'm an advocate of self-diagnosis. I do think they can be very accurate. Of course, not all the time, but I think they can be. So I decided to make this YouTube channel because in my life, in my entire life, I don't communicate much what's going on inside me in my inner world, my thoughts, my emotions, all those things. And it's probably from me being misunderstood or not validated the way that I needed to be when I was younger. So I just learned to keep it inside. And that's okay. I don't have, resentment toward anyone that wasn't able to support me the way I feel like they should have been able to. How can you teach someone to color in the color purple if they don't know the color purple exists? To even choose it, to color with it. Anyway, so with what happened with my daughters, there's been a continuous strain in our relationship for probably a couple years. And I've been aware of it, and I've definitely felt it. And I've had so many perspectives on it inside myself that come from a conscious, objective as possible place. And I've never shared any of it. And that's a that's an intentional decision mostly. I felt like at the time I didn't want to give parts of myself to them and influence their own objectivity and their own experience in life. I think they're healthy personalities. I don't think they're making choices that are dangerous to themselves or are bad. So I kind of just wanted to watch them and not, I don't know, like I guess if I perceive them as a glass of water, clear glass, clear water, and drops of color are all their different experiences in life, and they're being dropped in this glass of water. Say my color is blue, not to be associated with emotion, but just to pick a color. I didn't want my color to be constantly dropped into their glass. I wanted their glass to be an accumulation of all their colors. And if I see colors that are dangerous to them or important, that they at least be explained, like, hey, this color is this color and be careful because it could mean this. And then I was going and I would have inserted myself. I didn't feel I needed to. So in our relationship, I was very quiet. Even if I had things that were bothering me that I wanted to be done differently in regards to my relationship with them, I didn't, because of the same reason that I just explained. I didn't express it. And I'm understanding now, hindsight, which seems like a silly fact to overlook, but my lack of communication was actually communicating something in itself. So my lack of communication was a drop of water, and it was a color. So in my lack of communication, I constantly dripped a color into their glass of water that was doing what I was trying not to do the entire time. And I was not conscious of this until everything came to like a singularity moment where I was like, oh, you're like, I'm retarded, pretty much, in a much more emotional expression to myself of saying that in the time. So this page is me learning to be vulnerable and to communicate and to talk. I don't get to talk to them directly. I can text, but I was asked and told that by both of them separately that they do not want a relationship. My last text to each of them was, I love you. I'll always be here. The door's always open. Please use it. So I don't feel like me pushing my perspectives onto them, if that's what they've asked of me, is acknowledging them. But I can still acknowledge the wisdom that I've gained and practice it and give them the opportunity to maybe understand my perspective if they like, by them accessing these videos later. So 4th of July, my daughter, let me start from like, well, I guess it's not really the beginning. So my autistic 5-year-old is not easy to interact with. He's an amazing kid. He's fun to connect with. He's super cool and he's very high functioning, but he has his characteristics. He's very, very rigid thought patterns. It's hard for him to reciprocate back and forth anything, really, play, conversation, whatever. So it's kind of, in simple terms, his way or the highway at times. And And I think the strain from that, in association with my daughters coming over and myself, my wife, my 5-year-old son, and them trying to interact in a family setting, it's caused tension. And I should have focused on hindsight, of course, giving them the connections they needed independently to them away from the family dynamic, and then incorporate that connection and that healthy relationship into the family dynamic where I was feeling the tension was in the family dynamic. I didn't do that. I think I was so concerned with my son feeling left out, my wife seeing him being left out, that I was trying to fix it all together. And I don't think that was the right approach. It is kind of typical of me to approach situations like that. So they got to where they didn't want to come over. We weren't spending quality time together. And I don't blame them at all. I come from a divorced family, parents, and I can understand their perception from experiences that I had, and then by using the best empathy that I can to put myself in their shoes. So I don't blame them, but there are things that I could have done differently. So my 17-year-old daughter has a boyfriend that she's been with for a year, and I still think he's a good kid, he's 18 now, so man, however you want to describe him. I think he's good. I do. I think he's a human, and I think all humans have things they have to work through, and he has his own things. So on 4th of July, my dad rents or gets a room on the beach for the 4th of July weekend, and all the family goes, my daughter's included, and her boyfriend came as well and stayed in the room with us, and I'm fine with that. They're just it's a whole nother topic, but I'm fine with that. I also have a half sister on my dad's side that's, young teen, very young teen. Her friend was there that's also a very young teen, and obviously my 12-year-old daughter. And my daughter's boyfriend he's a liar. I have a couple terms in my head, but I'm not sure if they're the correct terms to use, but he lies. And I think it's a mechanism to fit in. I think at some point in his existence as a child, he used it as a defense mechanism and used it to fit in and mask. And I think it's just stayed with him. So he lies, and he'll lie about extravagant things. So just an example, in April, we were in Orlando. We went to Epic Universe, and he also went with us, or he didn't go to the park, but he stayed with us and hung out at the hotel. And he drove over in a Jeep Cherokee, and it is what it is. It's a Jeep Cherokee. And we were talking about something, and he goes into detail how this Jeep Cherokee is a Trailhawk version. It has this motor, it has this, it goes this fast. And I'm not a gearhead by any means, but I'm aware that it's not. It's just not. I can list reasons all day long. It's just not. So this is an example. Things like this happen all the time in conversation. In conversation with him, it's constant, and I've noticed it. I've noticed it every time, and I've been aware of it, and whatever. It is what it is. He's just another human, So I realized in this trip, 4th of July, how that could be dangerous. So as he's interacting with his girlfriend, my 17-year-old daughter, my 12-year-old daughter, my young teen half-sister, and her friend, he's doing the same thing, lying and trying to fit in for whatever reason he does it. And mature conversations are brought up. I don't know how they were initiated, but I know at one point my 12-year-old came into the room when myself and my older daughter were in the hotel room at the beach 4th of July. And she says, "Hey, Emma, have you guys done it?" I'll probably get rid of that name. Have you guys done it? And she's talking about sex. And Emma's like, "No." And I was thinking, and she said, "Well, Trent was telling everybody," whatever, I won't get into details, but I realized how dangerous his lying and trying to fit in can be, because I realized he cannot differentiate that he should not be doing particular things with particular people, because his self-awareness of what he's doing in the first place isn't there. So this caught my attention. In the midst of all this, before this happened, earlier in the day, I guess my mother-in-law and her sister, which were both there, were told by my half-sister and my half-sister's friends some of the things and some of the flirting and stuff that was going on. And in an effort to keep the situation, I guess they were trying to just have a good time. I get it. So they didn't tell myself and they didn't tell my dad. They kept it between the two women, and they told the girls, "Don't stay away from him. Don't go around him." Long story short, my daughter's boyfriend finds out and he loses his shit. He comes in the room. He's leaving. I want to say my mother-in-law's sister said something to him in the hallway, something about "this is childish" or something like that, and he got triggered. He came to the room, he's leaving, he packed his stuff, he went to go get his car. I think he sat in his car for a while. My older daughter was in the room, and I talked to her for quite a while, just telling her, "Listen, he's triggered," and just trying to be objective, trying to be like, I understand you're emotional. I understand you're upset at him, but he hadn't met that side of my family. He's barely spent any time with me, so he's in a weird place with a bunch of weird people, and this situation's going on, and he feels uncomfortable, and he doesn't know how to handle it, so he went into fight or flight, and he wants to get out of here. It's understandable. I talked to her. He ended up coming back. And he took a long walk, and everything calmed down. Everything was good. I still didn't know the details from my mother-in-law or her sister at this point. None of the details. Hadn't even talked to them about it. All I know is what my older daughter has told me, and the little bit her boyfriend's told me. So, whatever. Life goes on. A couple hours later, everything comes right back around. Another situation happens. He's been interacting with the girls. I guess my mother-in-law's sister found out. She didn't say anything directly, but I guess she went up and kind of got the girls away from him, and something was said. He flew off the handle, came in the room when myself and my older daughter was in the room. And he was very emotional, flying off the handle. "I'm leaving. F this side of the family. I'm sorry, but you're never going to effing see me again. They're effing crazy." Just as emotional can be. So he's in the room. I myself at this point get to the point where I'm overstimulated. I'm overwhelmed. This is too much. I'm still on his side at this point. I walked down to my dad's room. I had some chairs and a few things in there, and I was getting my stuff, and I was leaving with the girls. Really what I wanted to do was go home to my house and hang out with them and just enjoy time, but I was aware that they didn't really want to. So I think I was also afraid of losing the little bit of time that I did have with them, because I would be taking them straight to their mom's instead of my house. My own crap, another day. So I walked down to my dad's room. I grabbed my things, like, what's going on? I'm literally shaking. I'm like, I'm leaving. He's like, why? And I tell him what's going on, and he mentions, well, he had just found out also. He had not known about any of this. So he had just been told some things that went on that I wasn't aware of, and why they were keeping him away from them. As I'm listening to him share all their perspectives, and I'm trying to like get my own opinion of, this boyfriend, I get a phone call from my daughter. She is screaming hysterically, please come help us, please come help us, referring to her and my younger daughter. So I sprint out of the room. I sprint down the hallway. I bang on the door hard. I screwed up my hand, like the palm of my hand. He opened the door. I said, get the fuck out of here. And I followed him out the parking lot. I called 911. I explained what was going on, and I explained that he needed to leave, that I didn't want something to escalate later on. I really had no other interaction with him. None, actually, after telling him to get the F out. So I go back in the room. My daughter's hysterical. And hindsight, I would have approached this differently. I wish I would have just been a safe space for her in this situation. But instead, I was logical. And that's a big part of my AuDHD, work phone, is trying to remedy logically. So, and that's what I did with her. And that's my natural state to go to, but I'm trying to learn to change that. I want to be more of an open space, anyway. So I was telling her, listen, I don't know him well, but I do know he does lie, and she's aware of this. We discussed this briefly earlier in the night. He lies. He does manipulate. That had happened, and she did agree with that. I was like, you need to stay away from him. I don't think he's safe. And of course, my daughter, who loves this guy, is going to be looking through potentially a rose-colored pair of glasses. So I spoke with her a while. She ended up calling her mom and having her mom come and pick them up. I didn't really get to interact with them much after that. After that, I sent their mom a text message that was never acknowledged the following morning, saying that, I was very much on the side of her boyfriend, and explained the situation. And once I got the phone call, it shifted. And I was like, and I still feel bad for him. Like, I do. I don't hate him. I think he's a good dude. I do. Maybe it's silly. I don't know. But anyway, she never acknowledged that text message. And then I started having conversations with the girls because they both reached out and said they didn't want a relationship with me. So to add a little bit of atmosphere in the echo chamber that they exist in living with their mom, their mom's dad was never really in her life. I don't know the exact circumstances, but I believe when she was a young teen, I'm not sure the exact age, she wrote him a letter and cut communication, and he was also local. So just keep that in your head. So there's that, and there's also my daughter's boyfriend's parents are a lesbian couple, which is fine. It's great. My ex-wife, my older daughter, and my younger daughter are with his family all the time. They're like, they do everything together. So if you can imagine the atmosphere that they live in, it could be could be something, whatever you make it out to be. It is what it is. I get it. That's how it's human life. Like, it is what it is. Bunch of different colored drops in the glass, and next thing you know, it is what it is. So I get a text from them saying they don't want a relationship, which is, it's very amazing to me that my 12-year-old daughter and my 17-year-old daughter can both come to the same conclusion at the same exact time. Period. Little mind-blowing. It happened. It is what it is. I can draw scenarios and conclusions all I want in my head. Doesn't matter. So I texted them back and forth, trying to explain. So in their defense, and what they expressed multiple times, I've had so many times to fix our relationship, so much time, and I have, and they're right. But I just never communicated, which is wrapping right back around to why you're seeing my face on YouTube now, is because I want to do it. I'm, you know, the few people that I've spoken with have said, well, you've left the door open, you've told them you love them, all you can do is wait. And that's fine. If that's what I have to do, that's what I'm going to do. But I am going to express myself here. I want it to be on a platform. I want it to be separate from my own journaling. I want it to be separate from recording just myself. I want to get comfortable with expressing myself to anyone watching, because it's not the same as expressing myself to another person face to face, but it can't hurt, right? So that's where we're at. I anticipate putting a video up every day of the week, at least, because that's what I want to do. If my kids catch wind, if they watch it, that's great. I want to share my side of the story. I want them to know, like me, because they only know the me that has existed in the echo chamber that they live in with their mom. And it's just not fair. I hope it never happens to them either. So hopefully there's something that can be learned from this all the way around. Anyways, that's it. I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for listening.